Welcome all. We're officially starting this meeting for August 23rd, 2023. Going over the ratified contract items that you guys said yes to. All the items that you said yes to included the union leaves, the initial employment about your job description, being notified that you now have 5 days for bereavement leave, accepting the discipline list that's being added to our contract, evaluations, and how to implement the evaluation, the compensation raise. You accepted the tiers of 20% to 10%. You accepted the longevity rates stay the same for the 2023-2024 school year, and also safety along with education. A lot of questions were asked about how we came up with the compensation scale. Initially, ASEA proposed 15% to Green Dot. We had 7 to 8 sessions, and every time we had a session, Green Dot had nothing to bring to the table. And so at that point, we already knew what LA Unified was doing. We proposed 15%, and from there we started the back and forth, or the seesaw, and what they could do or couldn't do. We wanted 15% equally across the board. We got an instant no, and they started working on how to scale it out. They wanted to be competitive with LAUSD and the entry fees, because they feel like we're not paying people enough as they come into new job descriptions. Our argument is that we wanted to make sure that our veteran employees were able to receive good compensation, be recognized for their loyalty, for staying with the organization for a long time. However, we know that people are only staying at jobs now maybe 1 to 2 years, the max 3. No one's doing long times at jobs anymore. They're also coming in much younger, so dealing with benefits and compensation isn't as important to them as it is to us that have families or have partners and kids, or or maybe health issues. There were some questions that were put out for us to ask and answer. We still have people coming in, signing at the back of the table. So I'm gonna have some of the reps kind of read out some of the questions or comments that were emailed to us. I'll start with you.
Yeah. So the first one was unfairly distributed money in the compensation area. Another one was veteran employees should be rewarded. Next one was there should be compensation for IEP translations and training for IEP translations via Spanish-speaking Green Dot SPED aids.
Okay, let's stop there. So 2 of them had to do with compensation and how they feel the money was distributed unevenly. They felt like the money should have been given to older employees instead of to the newer employees, or those just being hired. And then the other comment had to do with IEP translation. So our instructional aides, our OAs and PCs are sometimes asked to translate, or I use the word interpret. Those that speak more than one language, we know that every word is not translated literally. The IEP is a legal document, and so I try to give people the verbiage to push back, because it being a legal binding document and you sign your name to it, if anything comes up, their lawyer or their the person that's over their case specifically can call us into court for any reason. So if you are a Spanish speaker, and then some of our campus we have Tagalog that's being spoken, if you speak that language and you're called into IEP and you're uncomfortable, you need to say so. I'm uncomfortable with interpreting or translating this legal document. Is there anyone else you can find? Some of the campuses have a system, and they either do them on certain days, or their time in their specific job description is put to the side. They do the translation or interpretation for the IEP team, and then they have private time to complete their work. That's in the PC and OA job description. It isn't in the instructional aid positions. So we're having a lot of IAs in the last 2 years being asked at the last minute to go into interpret or translate IEPs, and people are wondering how can they be compensated. There is no extra compensation. There is a small training that LAUSD offers. If you are interested, reach out to Susana Campos or Phil Wolfson, and they'll try and get you signed up for the small training that they loosely give to train you for interpreting this legal document. Can you read a couple of more?
Okay. I believe this is saying, I just want a fair workplace and be compensated accordingly. I'm just concerned, I have been here 18 years. I think I deserve a good pay raise. Change of name means change of roles and responsibilities. Should also mean change of compensation. I think the union should be doing a better job at uniting the staff rather than having the new versus veteran. At the end of the day, we are all classified and we are all getting underpaid regardless of our years of service.
Yeah, that's really true, that we're all equal. I know it seems as if we're not being able to get paid evenly or get raises evenly. Can someone text Deandra Blakely and let her know, okay, and hit the buzzer so she can get to the second floor of the parking structure? Each job has its own job skills that should be acquired. Some you have to have some additional education. Some you just having the high school diploma or the AA or AS is enough. So all of us that are in the classrooms with any students, it's part of the requirement that we have an AA or AS plus additional training, not just the Green Dot professional developments. Prior to COVID, we all had to be make sure that we have either taken the CBEST test and have passed, and it's the same California teachers skills test that teachers take. So we're pretty much have the same type of education that the teachers have if we're in the classroom helping them with instruction, whether it be special education or a HIT tutor or just an AVID tutor in the classroom. Anything that's dealing with any of the curriculum in academia, we have to be online on par with the teachers. The unfair way that they do the raises, one of the reasons AMU is so powerful is because they have many people, and their people are willing to stand together and make noise. ASEA is only a year behind AMU in existing in Green Dot, and we have people that can make noise. Some people are nervous, some people are scared, some don't believe in the union, and just feel like we're just taking money out of their paycheck, or that we are only needed when it's time they're being disciplined. We can make a lot of traction, and we can actually get Green Dot to make some moves, but we have to do it and be on one accord. It is true that people have tried to pit us against each other, the newer employees against the older employees, and I mean in years in the organization. And it's kind of work. It silences us. And then a lot of people feel like ASEA isn't seen enough, or we're not talked about enough. So the only way we can make any traction in that is us coming together. Like literally right now, we're in a meeting, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in the meeting. And we have way more employees than that. When it came down to voting, we had only 51 people vote. We have way more employees than that. However, everybody wants to call and complain about getting a raise, or how are we going to have a safe work environment? And we still continue to do the work on behalf of the people, regardless of the numbers. But it helps if you guys get involved with this. I'm going to take a short break, add some documents so you guys can take a look at the legal language, which we call tentative agreements. So you can view those in just a moment. So the last 2 documents had to do with discipline and how they're doing progressive discipline, and this is my concern. this highlighted area here, talking about discriminatory language. Employees, please be careful. Please be careful. Instructional aids, we deal with curriculum in books and readings that have some racial epithets and conversation in it. We are not having this put in our contract. However, I know that this is being intentionally looked at. People are awaiting to hear conversations or comments or jokes that have to do with racial epithets or misuse of the N-word. Or however, there's also other ways to use inappropriate language and epithets towards other people. So even when you're being friendly and joking with one another, you never know who's watching, you never know who's paying attention. And part of harassment or harassment is when it makes someone else uncomfortable. It doesn't have to be the person you're talking to directly or interacting with directly. Anyone in the room or earshot of what you're saying, and it makes them uncomfortable, they can report it. It becomes an investigation. And these investigations that I've had to deal with become very lengthy. Some people feel like their reputation is ruined because they're off work. They're on a paid leave, but they're off work for maybe a couple of weeks, and some people a month, and then some have been as long as a year. So please be careful with how you're interacting with one another and the language that you're using. Compensation is the biggest thing that everybody wanted to know about. And a lot of people aren't here to really ask those questions that they, really want to know. That's burning deep down in their heart. I will say this. The items that you're looking at on here are when we put the line items together, and then we strike out things in red that need to be changed or updated. And so this is how it looks. I give you guys a document that is basic and plain without all this legal jargon. Any of you that are receiving any of the raises, look at your pay rate from your workday or your paycheck. Multiply that time the percentage that it says you're being allocated, and it will give you the amount that's going to be added on top of your hourly rate. The other thing is all raises are being placed in Workday. They are being prepared to pay you at that new rate for August 25th. However, anyone that worked from July 1st until August 8th, your retro pay will be ready for September 10th payroll. So raises at the new rate will be put in your paycheck August 25th. And anyone that worked from July to August, when we came back right before Green Dot Day, your retro or your payback will be done for September 10th. Keep that in mind. Do your own calculations. If you don't trust your own calculations, get with your SOM. They can show you how it's going to be done. They'll also help you see it in Workday. The hourly rate increases if you turn in your transcripts for your associate's degree. That increase stayed. If you get a bachelor's, turn in your transcripts so you can get that increase. But what we did add is that if you discuss with your immediate supervisor or your principal that you're going back to school or are already in school and it's one of the programs that we have a connection with or a relationship with, there's ways that you can be discounted or reimbursed or a special program and discounts that you can get being involved in those programs. To my knowledge, we have Cal State University Dominguez Hills, Loyola Marymount, St. Mary's, and we're looking into a couple of more. So we have Cal State LA. Green Dot has a program with them.
I believe so.
Not familiar. So check with your HR person or your SOM to find out what programs we are connected with. I'll make sure I get a list back to everybody via email. If you're not receiving emails, check with your coworkers and see if they're getting emails when we send out ASEA information, and then email me back. Hey, not receiving any emails. This is my email. Everyone has not been added to the Green Dot California Classified Employees Group email because they changed it. Before we were just whatever your name, Latonian.Lopez@animo because we have Tennessee and Texas. Now they have to separate it. So we have to have Green Dot Public Schools California, Green Dot Public Schools Tennessee, Green Dot Public Schools Texas, and then they lump us together in a group email. I have no control over that email. The only emails that ASEA has control over is the one that's ASEA classified Gmail, which is why I asked for your personal information. Very similar to how I give you a warning about being on Wi-Fi on your work time. We should not be doing union work on the Green Dot network. So that's why I use the Gmails. The increases for those that have made the anniversary of 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, and 20 years, those still are in place. We fought tooth and nail to make sure that those increases stayed. They were trying to take them away. And I know a lot of teachers are like, oh my goodness, we wish we got a raise the same way you guys did. What you have to take into consideration is teachers have steps and scales, how many years they're in the organization, how much education they have, and so it drops them down in a column and over in a column, and then their money increases. And that's money that is put into Green Dot's budget for however many years their contract is set for. So normally we do a contract from 3 to 5 years. With our contract, we're able to go and do compensation every year. This is a lump sum that they're doing at one time, which is why they can do the 10 to 20% at one time, because then we'll renegotiate it at the end of the year. Normally the average raise we get is a 2.5, a 3, or a 3.5. So this is a big thing that we've received. Green Dot personally thinks that they've done well. I personally think we got some work to do, because they could have done it evenly across to everyone at 20%, or evenly across at 18, 17, 16, 15%. They could have done that. However, 10% to 20%, you guys voted on it. This is what we got. And so still congratulations on voting on this, because people really, really need it. I understand things have increased in the grocery stores and gas. You guys got kids buying clothes. I understand inflation is on the rise, and we constantly remind them of that. I need your voices to help them hear it more. Any questions, comments, or concerns about the contract or the things that we got voted in, or what you want to look for were to voting on or changing in the next negotiations?
More so a comment for me.
Okay, comment.
I just think that we should try to exercise a little more patience and understand that this is for the year, and this isn't permanent, and that it gives us time to come together to the drawing board and figure things out and alleviate that separation between old and new. And that just gotta be patient and know what's worth fighting for, and fighting with them, fighting together.
Fight together, yeah.
And can't complain if you ain't voting, you ain't doing what you're supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, I have certain things that I would like to say as Latonia, but as the president, you know, I have to make the stance of this is being done for the people.
Yeah.
However, the truth is, you're right. If people are members and their voice is they're not putting their voice up to vote, they're not bringing their voice to the meetings, they're not even coming to the meetings, they're not even reading the emails or going to the YouTube channel, it just makes it hard and difficult, and I have to work even harder because you're not reading your emails, or you're not going to the YouTube channel to get the information, or I'm repeating the same information over and over and over again. However, the membership is lucky that this has nothing to do with presidency. It's just the type of person that I am, that I don't mind giving information.
Yeah.
All presidents don't do that. They point you right back to the contract. And that's literally what I should be doing, is educating the people to go back to the contract. You guys need to learn the legal language, because this black and white is what in documents is what we get stuck in, and how they catch us, and how people get suspended, and how people get fired because they don't understand the black and white language. I'm gonna try and do better at using the black and white language, legal terms, instead of changing it to layman terms. But sometimes it just bogs people down, and they want the meat of it, or it goes over their head. Anyone else?
When should everyone expect to get the?
Speak up, because it's recording.
When should everyone expect to get the contract so they can read it over themselves?
The final contract. So I would say September. That gives us a chance to flesh out all eras, make sure that they have the right language. And I had to have them resend the discipline article 3 times because they kept keeping that one section. And I was like, nope, we said we weren't keeping that section. Oh yeah. And they send me a new version, and it would be in a different place. Like, no, I have to make sure I go through all of it. The last president, we got caught in a conundrum where the black and white had already been signed, and they held us to it, and it hurt the members, and it had to do with discipline. So I don't want to get caught up in that. I'm already a very analytical person when it comes to documents anyway. So give us at least till September to get the final contract with all the new information that we've signed on, agreed to, voted on, and put in black and white, and we can distribute it out to all the campuses and to the members. I'm going to try and get it put in a small booklet, maybe about this size. That makes it a little easier. It's pretty thick. Can someone call or text George Albaron? Okay, thanks. So I try to keep them handy. I also give them to the principals in the Psalms. We've been invited to a retreat with Green Dot, home office people, principals, AMU. They're inviting the whole team. I'm only going to take a select few because I don't want to pull you. Most of us are sped, and so that leaves our children without any support. So I'm just going to pick a couple of people to go. Try and pick them according to job description. So each job description is represented. And in that arena, we're able to discuss what our contract means, because right now people are making their own assumptions and their own interpretation about our contract. Evaluations is a bigger point to discuss, because when you're evaluating an employee, you should be talking about their skills and not how you feel about them, right? And even the verbiage that they use, how are they addressing the employee, or how is it viewed in the evaluation? So we're going to be discussing that Monday, August 28th at El Camino. Monday, August 28th at El Camino. AMU has a new president. For the last 3 terms, I've partnered with Angel Maldonado and Jeremy Zuniga, and now I'll be partnering with Hector Vega. That's the AMU president. I always try to keep them abreast of what we're doing and how we're moving, because we work with them, but their teachers don't know how to necessarily work with us. So we're going to work on some stuff together. And then also, they're big in numbers, so they always help us with the benefits portion when we're voting. We have to include admin, counselors, psychologists, home office people, teachers, psychologists, and then classify. That's how many representations are at the table for benefits. The largest number is from the teachers. So they literally can move the gauge on how we get our benefits and what kind of benefits we get. This year they fought hard and loud because they're going to move it. They've been trying to move it since 2017. There's an increase on the rise, and I know you guys have seen a little bit, but the increase that's eventually going to come, if you guys don't get on board with it, it's going to be big. If you're paying attention to the news and news articles, car insurances, home insurances, and natural disaster insurances are now dropping people. Car insurance are saying they don't want to cover people in California. We have earthquakes. If there's any natural disasters, home insurances are being changed, and they're not covering people, and they're dropping them, giving them a year to get their things together. So if I live in an area where it floods, flood insurance in 2 years for me is going to be over. They're just not going to do it. COVID and fires and floods just like did too much for people.
And also, because my industry now, long-term care tax.
Long-term care tax.
7702B.
Okay. So then I'll get that legislation so I can send it out to people. Any of your family members that are over, I'm not going to even say seniors. Anyone you know that is 55 or older. So you need to start looking into how does your insurance cover them, or how their insurance covers them. You might be covering a parent, a loved one, a partner. If they get sick and you have to do long-term care or short-term care, do you have some type of extra insurance to help you with that? The minimum for 3 to 7 days is like $3,000.
The total is about 36.
And that's per, so like, that's per day.
And then they'll also tax you 58 cents for every $100 made.
58 cents per every $100? Yeah, I'll definitely have to give that information. You share that with me, and then I'll share that with the classified employees. So your parents, your grandparents, anyone, in-laws that are older, if you help them, if you are using any of the medical stuff that we have in our organization, what's the name of the card that you can do child care and expenses from?
FSA.
FSA. If you're using FSA cards, flexible spending accounts, you need to look into that. Call HR and ask them specifically how it works. It isn't a credit card that you can go and buy new tires with, okay? It's not a credit card that, you feel like, okay, I want to go and buy this new purse or get this new jacket. Literally, you put these funds in the flexible spending account so that if you anticipate purchasing medicines that are not generic, they might be the full price. If all of a sudden you have an emergency dental issue, or you break your glasses or your frames, you need new contacts. Daycare, covering daycare for whatever little ones you have. It's a little bit more extensive than just the two things that I'm mentioning, medical, vision, and childcare, but it is very specific. You can put so much money in. They want you to use it by a certain time. Only a certain amount of it will roll over. So, but it works in your favor. Call HR, text HR, and ask them about the flexible spending account. It definitely will work. This is my only thing that I'm concerned about, which is going to sound kind of like an oxymoron. When we get any type of large raise, that means I need you to anticipate you being taxed. The taxes that are going to happen on your check, I need you to be ready for those things to come. Also, if you're having any other deductions that are happening, I need you the next 2 to 3 payroll checks to really look at your payroll. Print that out. Don't just look at it on Workday. Print it out, look at and see all the withholdings. How are you gonna what are you filing exempt? When they're pulling ASEA dues, a lot of people don't realize that if there's any type of court stuff that is allocated to you and it's a fine, sometimes they fine you at your jobs and they try to have that money pulled from your check. I need you to be looking for those types of items. A lot of people had withholdings this year that were unexpected. Now, there are some legal forms that you can fill out and say this is a hardship. The court will work with you. Or when you need to pay back, especially school loans, they'll help you reduce the amount. Normally they ask for 25%. Some take half. So just kind of be on top of your paychecks this year, looking at the withholdings and the taxes, and if you're being fined in any type of way. The other thing that possibly could be happening is our union dues might be increasing because it kicks us up into a new category. It kicked us up with us doing the 10 to 20%. It almost makes us look like we are a first or second year teacher. even though they are salary, when we break it down to an hourly rate, the minimum rate of a teacher is kind of like $32 to about $75 an hour. Some of you guys are already making that. Okay, so any questions, concerns about that, reach out to me. You can reach out to HR. Any of the team members, we have a representative pretty much on 8 campuses now. So in your emails, you'll always see that I have these individuals named and CC'd. So I have at Legacy, Antonia Orozco, Daisy Contreras, Anthony Dunaway. At Locke, I have Larry McDuffie, Heather Crawford, Markia Winch. At Watts, I have Deandra Blakely. At Venice, I have George Albaran and Lavada Hall. And then at Pat Brown, I have, who's joined us new, is Mario Salazar. At AJR, I have Jamila McClendon. At Leadership, I have Mr. Princewell, one of the oldest employees in the organization. Reach out to us. Ask questions. Don't be shy. Like, you have to ask questions. You got to be proactive. The same things we're asking of our students, you guys need to do the same things. This is your livelihood. This is your money, and this is your benefits. Was there any other things that you guys wanted to discuss? Because I kind of hit everything on the tentative agreements. I plan on doing a ASEA event. I don't know if we're going to do a barbecue at the park or maybe something at Locke because it's the most centrally located. But I do have employees that are down. This is considered north. So Ellen Ochoa, Oscar de la Hoya, AJR. Their complaints is that we don't come down here that often. And it's the truth. And it's only fair that we do some things down here on their campuses too. So thanks for joining us, Albaran. Any questions, comments, any chatter that you heard?
No, none recently.
Hall? No chatter? Any chatter on your campus? No. Something just came to mind. Clocking in and clocking out.
No, sir.
Okay, so that's why it's an issue at Watts.
Yeah.
That's the chatter you're hearing?
Yes.
Workday.
Yeah, because like I said, you can log in, but now you can't clock in. Like the clocking thing.
So she said you can log in, but you can't clock in. I think something that has to do right now with us adding Duo, and home office is aware of that. So Duo is kind of messing with, you can log into Workday, but you can't clock in and out with your time. They're working with that. But I have some instances where specifically just checking in, logging in and out daily, or doing your check-in, log in and out for your lunch or the end of your day has become a regular practice. And so SOMs are trying to get that together, and Green Dot's actually sent down what they want to become a policy and procedure in dealing with Workday that has to do with your time. So I always say personally, keep a log of your time in your phone, in your notes, in a notebook somewhere. So that's just something you should do to compare how many hours you're working, right? You know, Workday does minute by minute. Sometimes we just want to go in general. I work from 8 to 4:30. I mean, but you clocked in at 8:01, clocked out at, 4:37. Depending on your campus, that might be an issue. And with some other campuses, that isn't an issue. But that logging in and logging out, it's a legal issue. We don't do paper anymore, so if a SOM had to make any corrections, they need our permission and our initials beside it. Well, this is done electronically. We get the opportunity, review our hours, press submit if we needed corrections. Normally, SOMs will email you back and forth, you send the corrections, and they're able to make it. They're gonna make it where your immediate supervisor has to approve it. If it isn't approved, you will not be paid for that time until it gets approved or the discrepancy is settled. That can hurt the pocket.
I did come up with a question. The new positions that are available at Green Dot,
The new positions that are available at Green Dot,
for instance, community engagement coordinator,
No, they're not. Who he's talking about is SSS,
SSS, student support specialist.
Student Support Specialist.
Are any of these positions, part of our bargaining unit?
Okay, so some of you are aware that there's newer job descriptions popping up, or newer job descriptions working on your campuses. So because of COVID and the absenteeism, we got some funds that helped us bring in an additional person, and they came on your campus, but they belong to home office. They have now been put into a position not to just focus on absenteeism, but now work with as a student support specialist. This is my clarification. All employees that are not a teacher, psychologist, or counselor is a classified employee. But that doesn't mean that they're part of our bargaining unit. Everyone at home office is classified, but they're not part of our bargaining unit. So we spell out in our CBA, or our collective bargaining agreement / contract, who is up under us in our collective bargaining agreement. And so that consists of our OAs, our PCs, any instructional aid, and they're starting to break those off in different names and differentiate. Our facilities associates that used to belong to home office now belong to us. School operating associates, the SOA, and then you have the SSOA, student service operation associates. They normally kind of work together with the SOM, split some of the duties, and then the facilities coordinator. We also have added 2 new names. So the CSOs are now called Cultural SCA, School Cultural Associates. It's gonna take me some time, and y'all be patient. We might still be calling y'all CSOs until we get these acronyms together. Charge it to our brains, not our hearts. And then the SSS people, and the SOA, and the SSOA. That's a lot of S's. Just know that they're kind of working with operations. They're trying to really grow the office staff. They need more help. However, I normally get an email saying how many openings there are. We need, how you say it again? School Culture Associates.
Yes.
The biggest amount we need is at Legacy and at Locke, but we need them all over the organization. We're losing a lot of security. The other positions, we're losing a lot of office staff. So our OAs and PCs, I have at least 6 schools without one, if not both positions. So we're spending a lot of money on outside agencies. Some of it we have no control over. Green Dot doesn't even have control over that. Just people are making decisions in best interest of their families and finances, or moving out of education completely, or literally have moved. Apple Valley, Lancaster, Riverside, San Bernardino, Texas, Arizona, back to Mexico. It's a lot of movement that's happening. The cost of living is cheaper in those areas, better quality of life. They feel like their children and their families are safe. However, there's always a catch-22. You know, you move to a state that has lower cost of living, you're not going to be making the same type of wages. You just aren't. The more inland you go, the more expensive your fruits and vegetables are going to be, because they're coming, we got to travel them in from the West Coast, or either from down south to those areas. So those are some things to think about. But however, I will always, and I've shared this with Christina De Jesus, that this is something I stand on. You always do what's best for you and your family. You always do what's best for you and your family. And if that means leave the organization, we'll be sad, but and you will be missed. But promise you, they're gonna hire 2 or 3 people to do your job the day you gone, and then you'll be replaced, and you'll figure that out on the other side, how to take care of your family. So, any other hot topics, chatter? None that I can think of. Workday was the biggest one. Make sure you stick to whatever process your school has for calling in. In our contract, it says you can call in 45 minutes before your shift. If you know ahead of time, talk to your SOM or your immediate supervisor and put that in Workday. But if it's at the last minute, whatever your school's protocol is, do you need to text and email? Do you need to email? Talk to someone physically? Like, each school campus has something specific as their policy and procedure in that area. I'm going to reiterate, look at the contract or the documents that are sent, multiply the percentage that is related to your hourly pay, so you'll know how much is going to be added to your hourly for the increase. If not, talk to your SOM and ask them to show you in Workday. It's an area in Workday where they will show you what the increase is. It actually shows you your history of increases, so that you can be aware what you're going to be making moving forward. It is now, what time? 5:20. We're going to call this meeting to an end. If any of you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can always email those back to the team, so we can address them either directly with you in an email, via phone, or openly to all classified. And you guys have a good evening, and we'll talk to you later.